Hey, how's it going, YouTube? Today, we're going to talk about shoes. So currently, there are 3 different types of shoes that I wear when I work out. I use them for different things on different days, and I'm going to go through each one and say about how much they cost me, why I wear them, and the benefits I've seen from wearing them, and if you should purchase them as well. So the first shoe that I'm going to talk about is the PF Flyers. These are pretty much the same exact thing as Converse's, but the PF Flyers are a little cheaper. I'll talk about the cost later. But these I've had for about 1.5 to 2 years. As you can see, they're pretty worn down and they've been through a lot. These shoes I only use for deadlifting. These are my deadlift shoes, and the reason why I use them for deadlifting is because usually it's more beneficial for you to be as close to the ground as possible when you're deadlifting. That way the bar will be higher up relative to where your legs are, so then the range of motion will be a little shorter for you. Also, why I use them is because they are flat, and for deadlifting, or I'll get back to this, for any kind of leg exercise where you're pushing with your feet, it's nice to have a flat sole. That way your entire foot is against the ground. You can use your entire foot to push up. I think I don't remember the website, but I know I paid like $20 for it, and they might have been off a discount, so they might be a little more expensive now, but these are definitely cheaper than the Converse's, I believe, and they are virtually the same thing. These have helped my deadlift so much going from running shoes to these, because these are flat, so you don't have that arch in the heel or in the whole entire foot on the sole, so you're not rocking back and forth when you're trying to get in position or when you're pulling the weight up. Also, it having a minimum sole to it, you're basically putting your feet directly on the ground, which you should be deadlifting on a hard, flat surface, not on something cushiony. That's why you see a lot of people in the gym, they deadlift barefoot because they don't have shoes like this, most likely. I feel like wearing these type of shoes too, anything where you're really pushing hard with your feet against the floor, it's gonna help prevent injuries with your knees. What I saw for myself, at least, when I was wearing running shoes and trying to squat and deadlift in them, because of the arched heel and it wasn't completely flat, if I put my weight a little in a, uneven position, my feet would roll or my knees would twist more easily than if they were completely flat on a hard surface. It's pretty dangerous when you think of lifting that much weight if you're getting into like 300, 400s and your foot's turning in a weird way, your knees are turning in a weird way. So if you are doing squats, deadlift, even leg press, I would recommend using a flat shoe with a hard sole on there. That way you can have your feet completely flat on the floor. So the second type of shoe I'm going to talk about are the Nike Romaleos. They're either called Romaleos, or Romaleos. I'm really not exactly sure how to pronounce it. These I've had for about a year now, and they're probably the most durable shoe I've ever had, other than like work boots. They're made out of pretty thick material. The heel is raised up about 3/4 of an inch, and it's super hard. Like, there's no give to this sole at all, which is a good thing when you're doing a lot of like hard pressing movements where you're pushing on the ground against your feet. So these I use for pretty much anything other than deadlifting and calf raises. Mainly people use these for squats, you'll see, and people like to use them for squats because they have a hard sole, which, like I said before, is good when you're doing any kind of like squats, any leg exercises, because your feet are going to be solid against the floor. There's no give. Just think about trying to squat on a bed or a mattress. It's hard to keep your balance. It's hard to stay stable when the ground you're pushing on is cushiony and your feet are going in and out. These are good for squatting in that regards. Another reason why people would wear these is because of the raised heel, and a lot of people feel like it helps them push against their heels more when they're doing squats. For me personally, I don't know if I've felt that it's easier for me to push against my heel, but easier, in my opinion, to hit depth if you're trying to make sure you hit parallel or go below parallel. Because with your feet raised up, when you go to parallel, it's gonna take away the amount of flexibility you're gonna have in your ankles to hit parallel. If you don't have a problem hitting depth, then flat shoes might be fine for you. But another reason why I really love these shoes is because they're super heavy. They're about 3 times heavier than my PF Flyers probably, and most of the weight is in the heel and the sole. So when I have them on my feet and I'm getting ready to squat, especially heavy weight, my feet literally feel glued to the floor, which is awesome because I feel so stable. I feel like my feet aren't going to be sliding anywhere when I'm pushing up with maximum force to get the weight up. Also, I use them when I do any of my upper body movements usually, just because when I'm benching I like to have a nice flat surface for my feet, and I like my feet to feel stable when I'm benching as well. I love using them when I do overhead press too, because again, my feet feel glued to the floor and I feel more stable. Pretty much anything where I want my feet to be stable, where I'm standing or I have my feet against a platform, I love using these. So these shoes I didn't buy myself, I actually got for a gift last year for my birthday from my wonderful girlfriend, which I definitely appreciate that. These shoes are pretty expensive. I think they're close to $200 for a pair, which is a lot, but I expect these to last me forever. I've had them for a year now, and other than being a little dirtier than when I first got them, they pretty much look exactly the same. There's been no wear and tear that I can see on them. So I'm definitely happy with it, and I'm definitely feel like these are going to last me a really long time. So the last shoe is just your standard athletic running shoe. I got these, oh my gosh, these are all beat up. I got these like a year and a half ago, right before I did a half marathon, and I ended up doing a powerlifting competition just 6 months after that, so that was fun. But I really only use these when I lift now, when I'm doing calf raises, or no, I think that's it, really, calf raises. I mean, I can use these when I do like leg extensions and leg curls, which I usually do because I switch into them and do calves first. The reason why I switch shoes when I do calves into these is because my PF Flyers, they go up past my ankles. But I just feel like I don't get as much of a contraction, and I can't get as good of a stretch when I'm going down in the rep or going up in the rep, just because this bar is a little high, so it's in the way. The reason why I don't use my Romaleos when I do calf raises is because these have a little bit of grip on the bottom, so when I'm stretching, they grip onto the platform that I'm doing the calf raises on. When these, there's no grip really on them, so they slide. So it's just not a good shoe to do calf raises on. Same thing with the PF Flyers if you're worried about really getting the full range of motion in the calf raise and getting the nice stretch and flex at the top and squeeze. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about my recommendations on what shoes you should wear when you're working out. So if you're doing a lot of lifting for your workouts and you're not doing running or a lot of jumping, plyometric stuff, I would recommend not wearing a shoe like this. I would recommend wearing a shoe that has a relatively flat bottom and flat sole. That way your feet will be almost flat on the floor and you'll have more support to push off against the floor, especially when you're doing like deadlifts and squat and even bench, no HP. You just want to be as stable to the ground as possible, and these shoes are good for movements where you don't have your feet on the floor for a very long period of time, like obviously running or jumping, but for lifting where you want your feet to be stable and not moving, I would recommend something with a flat sole. And you don't have to go as extreme as a PF Flyer or Converse. I'm sure there are other shoes out there that have a generally flat sole, but I would recommend one of those instead. As far as the Romaleos, if you have the money, I definitely recommend these shoes, but keep in mind if you are thinking about buying these is that these probably won't be good for you to use when you're deadlifting because the heel is higher, so it's going to possibly pitch you forward in your deadlifts, and it's going to make your foot not as flat to the ground, so the bar is going to be a little farther away from your arms to reach. So it's just going to make the range of motion a little more, and it might throw you off balance. So for these, I recommend for anything other than deadlift flat shoe. If you want to kind of kill 3 birds with 1 stone, you could get a flat shoe where this doesn't come up so high. That way, flat shoe would be good for squatting. Your feet are flat on the ground, you have total support. They're flat for deadlifting, so you're as close to the ground as possible, so the range of motion isn't as high. And you'll be able to do calf raises in them if this doesn't come up so far. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and it gave you an idea of maybe what type of shoe you'd want to wear and the reasons behind why I wear my shoes. So if you liked the video, leave a like, comment, and let me know if you've tried any of these shoes or if you know of any other shoes that would be good for me to try out or other people to try out. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.